You are now tuned in to Queen Tone, a podcast where all women, especially Black women, are invited to share their thoughts, opinions, and experiences with the world without being asked to check their tone. This is a safe space to tune in to hear two millennial women's take on social, political, comedic, and straight up what the fuck topics every other week, where we bring it to you straight, no chaser. Because let's be real, it's usually never actually the tone that's too loud, but rather the truth. I'm Dana, a Detroit player paid for being a nerd with my tech savviness and product mindset, but known for my love of 90s R&B, comedic wit, and very on-brand Capricorn lifestyle.
And I'm Nita, paid for being a bad bitch and improving people's lives, but also known for my ability to speak truth to power and dance to the beat of my own drum. Real Aquarius shit. And this is Queen Tone.
And we're back.
Hey, can you hear me?
We've been gone for a minute. Yes, I can hear you.
Just keep that in.
Okay.
Just making sure. Okay, sorry.
Okay. And I've told her 3 times we were starting.
Okay, it's not my fault. We were supposed to. Don't get me started.
Hey. Let's not point fingers.
We're not pointing fingers.
There's 4 of them pointing back at you.
When you point fingers, oh yeah, that is a thing, huh? Well, really, there's only 3. Because if I'm pointing at you, like,
are you holding it like a gun?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do the.
But even if you do this, the thumb is still pointing. So it's really 2.
Either
fingers.
way, it's a finger pointing back at you, unless you holding out the full blown little blade.
I might just do that. Yeah, the blade. It's your fault. No. Yes, we're started. Hello, everybody. I know you missed us.
Yes, we've been going for a minute. Now we're back for the jump off. This podcast is bi-weekly, dropping on Thursdays, but there's an asterisk by that. And that asterisk is loose.
When we feel
so be sure to follow us. Yeah, be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll notify you when new episodes drop from there, as always. How's your week? Any new movies, new TV, new books,
so
bullshit?
If all of you, so I made Dana watch this the last time she visited. It's called BTV Encore. It's been one of my favorite. I've watched the show week by week, not necessarily live, but like I DVR'd it because we currently have Sling and my boyfriend hasn't canceled it yet because he only keeps it during basketball season. But once he hears this episode, I'm sure he's gonna go ahead and cancel it because he just forgot. But this week was the finale, and the group is called Blueprint. Now they started out with 9 people. Remember, it was 2.
I'm off. I'm behind like 4 episodes.
Okay, it was the twins from motherfucking Cherish. One of them is a millionaire apparently, whatever that means. There is Nivea, who was never in a group, so interesting choice there, but love her. She was the funny one. Aubrey O'Day from Demi Kane, Pam from Total, Irish, and forgive me for forgetting the other girl, the sister's name, Irish, and the sister, the light-skinned one, the backup singers from 702.
And 702.
Respectfully, but they were backup singers. And then
DeVoe's wife from
Shamari.
Yeah. What is she from?
She is from Black.
Black, yep. And then Pam from Total.
Yeah, I said that. So it started out with 9. Mind you, by the time the season finale comes, it's really just 4.5. Oh, and we forgot Keely. Keely from 3LW.
Keely from 3LW.
Who was, quote unquote, hired to be the
creative director.
Creative director. This bitch is in the group. Mind you, they do the last performance. So she ends up in the group by the end because the twins have run everybody out the house. Like, the twins have run. It is every single person who left, it is absolutely their fault. Period. I argue with your mama. It's absolutely their fault. They ran everybody out the house. So even Nivea, the nicest person, the nicest, just goofiest person, they ran her out the house.
For a good time.
And so Keely ends up being in the group at the end. And you know what? The performance was good. I actually like the songs. I need to go into like Spotify and like play the EP, which is out now. The group's name is Blueprint, BLU Print, which I find to be very 90s. And you know what? After all the drama, and I still despise the twins, they actually did a good job. Like, as far as the performance now, I don't know how many takes they did. I don't know, like, you know what I'm saying? But it came together by the end. So I was definitely entertained by that. And I heard that next season, or that if they get a next season, it will be boy groups, which should be really interesting.
Oh, maybe they could do an R&B battle the way Making a Band
exactly
used to do.
I've been watching that.
Yeah, I need to catch up on that. I've been watching White Lotus on HBO.
Oh yeah, I was watching that too. Yep.
I started watching just for Natasha Rothwell.
Yeah. Insecure fame.
Insecure. Yeah, Insecure. Also writing Insecure. But then, and your friend Kendall on Twitter said it perfectly. That show is ridiculously chaotic. Like, I feel like at first, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I was just watching. I'm like, why does every character piss me off? Yeah. But like in such a ridiculous way. And then it's just, everything is just chaotic. And it's like you're watching a train wreck in slow motion. Yes. I find myself screaming at the TV. I don't know which character I hate the most. But everything in it just works to make it that irritating and has me locked in, from the musical selections and the way that the background and like is participating in the conversations that's going on. And the premise is these, what is it, 7 people? It's like a family, a newlywed couple, a woman who's by herself, and then a few of the people who work at this resort in Hawaii. Right. It's a bunch of rich, pretentious white people who come to vacation there. And it's kind of how they interact over this course of this 7-day vacation. But at the beginning of the show, you realize that someone has died and they're taking the body back to the mainland, the continental. Yeah. And so you're trying to figure out, like, who is this person
ends up dying,
who ends up dead at this resort. In each episode, you just learn more about the guest, and they intertwine, and it's very, at first I was like, no, I'm not watching this. And then, like, I was, one of my podcasts I listened to, which I don't even remember which one, was like, oh, White Lotus, or they interviewed I forget the actress's name. But it's the white lady with the dead mom. The mom?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, the white lady with the dead mom. And she.
Oh, Stifler's mom.
Yeah, right. She's Stifler's mom. She was in Legally Blonde. I just don't remember. But if you know those,
she always played the same character.
Yeah. So she was doing an interview, and I was like, oh, maybe it is good. Like, I'll give it a chance. And it's definitely interesting. It's something, I think, a kind of cool take on something. Dana's right. You hate everybody. With the exception of Natasha Rothwell's character, everybody else is pretty despicable.
Yes,
which makes it even more entertaining because you're not really rooting for anybody.
I love white fuckery.
I mean, the newlywed wife isn't that bad either. Like, she's just okay, but the rest of the motherfuckers.
Yeah, I want her to speak up more. Yeah, even if it's not a hate thing, it's like I want them to speak up more. I want Natasha's character to get some shit in writing, and stop. So it's very like that under the skin type of irritation, and I want to know who's dead and what's going to happen with everyone. But a new season, they also confirmed for a second season, and it's going to be a new guest at a new location. Which means I feel like they could do a lot more. Even more to spin it. And I've also been, I think we text about it, but listening to, I'm not gonna lie, I was not a listener of Tinashe, but this new 333 album
it's good. It's good.
has been in rotation. And I've been bouncing on the ground, bouncing. Like, you reintroduced me to, favorites? X.
I was just thinking that. I was like, I really do like X a lot. I like X, Shy Guy. Not because of the lyrics. I just like the way it sounds.
I'm trying to see.
I'm like, what songs do I? Oh, Bouncing Part 2 is actually lit.
Yeah, it's sexy. I like it. I think I liked Pasadena.
Oh yeah, I mean all the singles I've been playing when I go to the gym. Like those songs be the first ones.
Yeah,
but her catalog is good though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some. I watched a quick interview Apple Music had on YouTube about just kind of her and where she is now as an artist. But between her, I consider Doja hip hop, but pop. I've been getting
the
more
funny
into
thing
pop.
is they're like the inverse of each other, but they make the same type of music. It's like, and they even look alike because like Tinashe makes a very rap singy type of R&B, and that's her bag that I really love her in, like a throw a fit, a bouncing, like those tracks. Like I feel like that's where she really like I don't know, I just love that sound from her. But she can do the poppy stuff because if you listen to her Spotify This Is Tinashe list, like that's how I really got acclimated to some of the stuff I hadn't heard from her, and I was like, oh, this is actually really versatile. And then you got Doja Cat, who's like a rapper but she sings a lot. And she's also kind of like in that mid-tempo bag when it comes to her songwriting and songs. I would love to see them in a concert together. Now, that would be dope.
Yeah.
I bought Tinashe tickets, though. I mean, depending on how Rona work out, though, I'm supposed to be seeing her in September.
Oh, yeah. I got a few things that I bought tickets for in October. October into September. So hopefully... we'll see, but I got ticket protection on them just in case. Yeah, it's rough. But let's get into queen shit. So my queen shit this week is overall just Black women in the Olympics. From Simone Biles and her having to deal with the multitude of things, having with being at the Olympics, dealing with her abuser. I don't even know his name, but his name is relevant. Her abuser, really shifting the conversation on mental health. Also, Naomi Osaka as well. Biles also having to deal with being scored differently because she's just too damn good.
Because she's so good. They some haters. That's crazy. Yeah.
Allison Felix, who she has 11 medals, and now she's the most decorated American track and field athlete in Olympic history. You may remember in 2019, Nike wanted to cut ties with her as her sponsor after they were trying to pressure her coming off after her birth because she had a daughter. And so, same story. Everybody was going to count her out as, oh, you can't recover after you have a baby. And look at her now, the most decorated American track and field athlete.
They said the same thing about Serena.
Yes. And there's a good article in the New York Times that came out at the end of July, said the Olympics rely on but don't support Black girl magic, which just overall goes into more detail about how Black women as a whole, not just for America, but for all countries that Black women are representing for, are really pushing and leading the Olympics. And you rely on it to win, but when it comes to every other aspect, there's an issue, usually having to do with their Blackness, their confidence, their arrogance, which I feel like as an athlete, as an entertainer, you need to have a certain level of arrogance to be able to.
You do.
You couldn't be, I think I'm okay, and be number one at anything. So shout out to all the amazing Black women in the Olympics. I catch a little bit of it. And it's funny, I'll think that I'm an expert on everything, knowing I could not do none of these damn things that I'm watching. I was watching, I don't think any Black women were in it, but the synchronized swimming and them like basically doing whole ass
I know, it looks so hard.
Romani routines underwater.
Yes, that bitch. I don't know who she is, but
Leslie, if somebody was commenting on the video, it's like, oh, them bitches making decisions underwater, like they doing some real shit.
For real.
Yeah, so shout out to all of the Black women across the diaspora, kicking ass and taking names in the Olympics.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I want to shout out my sis, Shar Jossel, who has an article in Variety. Like the magazine is gonna be on stands in about a week and a half. The name of her article in the magazine is called "Reckoning with Race in Hollywood: How the Events of 2020 Created Conversations on Set and Off." And so really proud of her. Congratulations.
Is this the same issue that the Beyonce, is this the same issue that the Beyonce interview is in too? Or was that Variety?
I don't think that was Variety. I think that was Harper's.
Oh, okay, never mind. I'm about to say that was going to be dope as fuck. Like even more dope than what it already is.
I know. I feel like I was like, wait, I feel like I would have known that.
That sounds like, oh, that shit is. That
Beyonce
buy that for the coffee table.
Yeah. Beyonce looks stunning in this blue look. In this blue kind of like cowboy get up cover. That's my favorite one.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. I'm actually going to a Beyonce themed party over Labor Day weekend. And by going, I mean hosting for one of my friends. I'm excited. I'm getting my costume ready. Shipments are coming in.
You'll have to tell me off mic which Beyonce you're dressing up as.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know.
But yeah, so that'll be exciting. And because her birthday is September 4th, Labor Day weekend, close to September 4th. I'm making my signature lemonade.
That's gonna be cute.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get into our topic this week, which was born out of a dope ass conversation we have. See, this is why with the podcast, I feel like we have to just not talk on the phone, because then
basically
in the midst of this 2-hour conversation, we were like, damn, we should start a podcast.
Right. Right. We were like, we should start a podcast. We're like, oh, fuck, we do. And we should probably record an episode.
Yeah.
Yikes, guys. So sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that was also a reminder to, we're a little bit overdue for an episode. But I think it was a good conversation just on kind of, where we're at different stages, but kind of similar periods in our life, and kind of getting into how we have grown as individuals and our respective career is just an aspect of it, but careers, relationships, friendships, and really just grown as people, and understanding kind of where we want to go and the women that we want to be as we grow older, and how we can really identify and understand kind of those things we need to learn, unlearn, improve upon to be the people that we want to be, and kind of what are those guiding principles for us to be able to go ahead and do that. So I guess to level set on the conversation, when we say personal growth, what do you consider for you when someone says, oh, your personal growth? What do you consider that to be, and how would you define that?
I think personal growth really has a lot to do with being retrospective, and like really thinking about, okay, how did I react to a certain situation 5 years ago versus how do I react to that now? Or how have my habits changed over time because my priorities have changed? I think that's what I really think of when I think of personal growth. The Aquarius in me, having certain habits or speaking in certain ways. And then over time, as my friendships grew or my relationships in general grew, I was more thoughtful about how I presented information, or how instead of being like, bitch, why are you calling me about the same nigga 15 times? Asking more questions, because you never want your friends to feel like, oh, they can't come to you, right? Because that's the whole point of having those types of friendships. But for me, if I want to problem solve, I realize and this is also probably a toxic trait, I'm not ready to talk about something until I'm ready for a solution, right? Because if I'm not action oriented, then I perceive it as, oh, why would anybody care about this? Because I'm not even ready to do anything about it. So and so I had to, over years of like kind of understanding or seeing feedback or seeing my friends' habits change, and I'm like, fuck, okay, so they didn't come to me because they knew I was gonna say this, that, or other. I now like ask more leading questions, or I try not to insert my opinion until they ask me a direct question, like those types of things. So I think, that's definitely growth. And then you also think just like, your priorities when you're in your 20s are different than now that I'm in my 30s. And so like, how have my habits changed? My spending has changed. Like that's growth. Like where I used to spend money on a whole bunch of bullshit. I mean, at the time I was having fun. But now it's like, okay, do I really need to, go to brunch that's just, I just don't do that anymore. Or I'm trying to think, or like spend money on a bunch of clothes. And I'm like, where am I going? I'm not going where. I don't need that random piece of clothing that I saw on Instagram. It's okay. Like, just stuff like that. What would you say has been, like, how do you see growth?
Similar to what you said, I think for me that is tied to being self-aware, because even just what you were saying about like understanding how not changing yourself, but kind of upgrading yourself to kind of be the best friend or daughter or person, whatever the role may be, kind of be a better person in that sense. So for me, I think it's unlearning and learning things to become the best version of myself, kind of with what I have at that time. So knowing that the way that I am at 31 is not the way that I am at 21. And I've been able to like, if I was in this situation again, kind of how you were saying, like, I would handle it different. I would ask more questions. I would think about it anymore. I'm not a impulsive person, but I think how I think about things differently have changed, or learning kind of what works and what doesn't work. Like, so I don't know if I would consider these traits toxic, but like similar to you, I don't go to people with my problems because prior to in my 20s, I saw that as a sign of complaining. I saw that as a sign of weakness. I saw that as a sign of, well, if you're not going to help me solve it, then why am I explaining this to you? Like, what's the point of it? Or even kind of understanding myself better of how I process emotions, deal with emotions, react to them, react to certain people. How can I realize, like, I don't like hurting people's feelings, but sometimes the way my directness or how I'm want to make sure I'm clear and concise and telling the truth is more important than like the tone or how I come off and say something. So I'm not being mean, but it's like, damn, that was harsh or direct or whatever.
Yeah.
So just being a little bit more considerate and understanding like, I can see how this would come off, which is, I think, is a tie to self-awareness, which is understanding how my thoughts, words, actions impact other people around me. And more so, because I can't consider everybody in the world that I interact with, but definitely those people that are around me that I care about, and I care about their feelings. So even if I think their feelings are ridiculous, I still care about them and need to consider them,
Yeah.
So stuff like that, just doing, and I think now is a lot of unlearning. So a lot of unlearning things that either were taught to me from parents, authoritative figures, whatever, and trying to relearn things that are based on my own values, my own morals, my own whatever, as an adult, to become that kind of better person.
No, that's definitely real. Like that resonates, because it's like when you're growing up, and even until you like your 20s, you are kind of relying on, well, I was taught that this was good, or that this was bad, or that I should. And then as you get more life experience, you start to question like, well, do I actually think that's bad?
Yeah. Or you meet different people and understand, wow,
right.
These people did this completely different in their household than I did. That's a different way to think. So they're going to think about something different.
Yeah, and it really helps to shape your values. And part of the conversation that started this when we were talking about what we were just talking on the phone, not recording like dummies, was that I
Dummy.
was explaining to you now I found a therapist and we've been working through some things, and one of the exercises she had me do related to a value assessment. Just to get down to, when you think about why am I anxious? Why am I depressed? Why am I overwhelmed? And just thinking, okay,
What am I doing with my life? Why am I doing
right,
these
all
things?
those things, really come down to what you value in life, right? And then that, though, whatever triggers your anxiety usually is tied to your value. So anyway, she did this thing and I shared it with Dana. She had this list and she was like, look at the list and tell me your top 3 values and then rank them. So in order, so, I took a few minutes
What
and
did the
then I
list
was like,
consist of?
words like, just words. Hold on, I'm pulling up the list. So it was words like, if it would open, love, wealth, family, moral, success, knowledge, power, friends, free time, adventure, peace, stability, respect, spirituality, stuff like that.
Yep.
There's a good amount of words on this, probably like 25-ish words. And so I looked at the list and I was like, well, okay, in order from top to, number 1, stability. That just stuck out to me. Number 2, freedom. Number 3, knowledge. And so then she was like, okay, we'll break those down. I was like, well, stability is important to me because when I was growing up, I didn't feel like I had much stability. My family tried their best, but still it was just like always like, okay, where's our next meal coming from? Or, when is this going to happen? Or, always crazy shit going on. So, stability and being able to also like financially stable, because the way I grew up, economically disadvantaged, I'll say that, or broke.
I was like, that was so eloquently put.
Right. Economically disadvantaged. Right. Being stable is something that I'm like, I work so hard so that I can pay my bills. Like that is always at the top of mind. I have nobody to fall back on. There's no going, like, sure, my mother would be like, yeah, come live with me. But my mom is also not living in the best place. Right. So it's like, I don't have anybody to go back and be like, I can't pay my mortgage this month. Can I have $1,300? Now, yes, in theory, yes, I have people that I can ask for that. But it's not like I have this generational wealth that I could rely on, right?
Yeah, and that comfort. Yeah, I get it. So then would you say too, with picking those words, and we've talked about this both on the podcast and just in life, but like how then those values indirectly and directly kind of steer other decisions that you make throughout your life. So when we're saying like growing as a person and your values are that foundational and kind of ground you in a sense, because there's probably a lot of decisions that you make if stability is the number one value,
yeah, absolutely,
that try to uphold that stability, whether it be money, whether it be choices as far as, are you going to pick up and move on another side of the country or whatever it may be, like whatever my decisions are, whatever I want to do for myself, I need to be stable in them.
Yeah.
So it kind of maneuvers, and then tied to, would you end up picking 5 of them? She said 3, 5?
No, I ended up picking 3. So the next one was freedom. And, my Aquarius is definitely at the head of that, right? Of like, I want the freedom to do what I want when I want. But it's also tied to my stability, because being stable means that if I want to go up, like if I literally wanted to fly to LA tomorrow, I absolutely could, or if my AC breaks down like it did, I could, I'm free to reluctantly pay to get that repaired, but I am free to make my own choices. In relationships, my freedom or autonomy is really important to me. I don't believe in being all up under somebody. I don't like, unless I really want to, like, I want to be able to come and go and not have to check in with nobody. Like, I don't want to change my name if I don't want to, like everything is on my terms, because I'm free to do what the fuck I want to do. And then my third one was knowledge. And I think for me, knowledge just connects with the first two, because if I'm knowledgeable enough to make decisions, then I'm free to make the best decisions for me that are not going to disrupt my stability, but in the inverse, actually secure my stability more, right? So whether it be my education, right? Knowledge about education, or knowledgeable about, oh, I want to buy a house. Okay, if I want to buy a house, okay, what's the best market to be in? What's the best time to buy? What type of insurance should I have? Now, I'm not saying I know everything, because I absolutely don't, but
but you seek the knowledge.
I'm one of those people. When I was talking to our Samhar yesterday, she came over for dinner, and I was like, I just love, like intellectually sparring with people. Like, I love like
you're good at it too.
I love using what I learned to like talk to people and be like, okay, well, what do you know that I don't know? And you know, and vice versa. And so I think that just leads to me being able to make more decisions and feed into my stability more. So, but what I realized was some of the words I didn't pick, but we can get into that later.
Yeah.
So like, I sent you the list. What would you say your top 3 are, and in what order?
So slightly different. So I actually did this exercise in the winter of the pandemic tied to my therapist. I was in this single woman's group that was kind of like a group therapy thing, which I was like, hey, I'm in the thick of Rona by myself. Like, why not just kind of meet with people who are similar to me in the sense of all the women were in various parts of New York, but kind of by themselves and just working from home. So kind of had a similar, but then we were all different as far as age range, ethnicity, kind of experience, things like that. And so one of the exercises that the therapist, who's my personal therapist too, was similar to you, and even kind of the similar way of like picking our values. But I had never done this exercise in the context of like me as a person. I've done it as far as what values do I want in a company that I work for? What values are important as far as career? Like all of my development is related to my career or tied to like job as far as, oh yeah, I know what type of, I'm a INDEP, whatever the thing, personality, all that type of stuff is tied to work. So she had us do a similar exercise, except it was like 100 or so words, similar to the list that you were going off of. And then we had to group all the different words that kind of spoke to us into 5 different categories. And then from those 5 different categories, come up with like a theme word. And so I, being the extra overachieving student that I did, I kind of took it and made it into, it's 5 values, and it's based on kind of like a theme of life. And I realized in doing this exercise, this was the first time that I actually sat down and thought about like me, the person, not me, the career woman, me, the student, me, the whatever, like, oh, I'm making plans for Dana to do this versus no, I'm just sitting down and thinking about Dana. So that was very, very interesting. But so kind of my theme words, and it can get deep, but I'll keep it a little bit, keep it a little bit shallow. But the idea of, I got this, and I'm a quote person. It was a movie on Netflix, and it basically said that Black people, we know how to survive, but we don't know how to live. And so the theme of it is being able to live, and when I say that, it's like, we know how to, put food on the table for the next day and get shit done and take, whatever to survive, but never having that opportunity to just be. Like,
be in the moment.
Yeah. And just, I'm, kind of that mindfulness now that people talk about when they talk about meditation, and like just being in the moment and things like that, and just enjoying the present, because usually you're thinking about, I got to go to work because this is due on that is due whenever, I got to study for this, whatever it may be. So my overall kind of mission statement with my values of the 5 values is to live in abundance, to live with humility, to live boldly, live to service, and to live through love. And so it's basically each word kind of encompasses what's important to me. So in abundance, being able to be filled by all things that bring me peace, security, and joy to me and those around me. So stability falls into that. Like, grew up with stability. That's the first thing I think about, like do I have my money in order? Do I have my all my ducks in a row kind of before I do anything? I am not a risk taker in that sense. So, but in a sense of abundance, kind of whatever I'm doing, like I deserve to have everything in abundance, not like bare minimum, not like, okay, just give me scraps. I don't want to ask for much. Right. No, I'm going to ask for everything.
That's surviving versus thriving. I would say surviving versus thriving.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even me, that's having to shift my mindset to even think like that of like, no, I deserve everything. Even if it's, if you ask me, oh, can I get you something? Oh, no, just whatever is the easiest for you. Like, no, give me what I deserve.
Give me what the fuck I want.
Oh, yeah, give me what I want. But for me, also being able to say what I want too, and not thinking, oh no, this is too much. Like whether it comes from negotiating salaries or like what I will and won't accept with anything, kind of having that with abundance. And then what's another one that stands out? Humility. So kind of in our realm of personal growth, living with humility. So being the best version of myself and also honoring my younger self, and self-awareness plays a large part of this. So I think with all that I have accomplished, all that I will accomplish, kind of still being that humble and still remaining like the girl from the east side of Detroit. But in doing that, still honoring like who I am at my core and never switching up or never becoming a product of my environment that's not going to serve me or like the core of me. So remembering who I am in a sense, who I am and whose I am in a sense.
And whose I am. There you go. That's a word.
Living boldly. So this was important to me of just kind of tied into being who the younger me of myself deserves for me to be, and then also kind of who I am now and like what I want to be in the future. So doing my actions, words, thoughts, being carefree, being Black, that's a form of resistance in and of itself. And doing that boldly. So never shrinking. I remember even my grandmother always told me, like, my grandmother always told me, like Beyonce, to always walk with my head up held high. Right. My grandma always said, life is like a box.
Chocolate.
Right. So just being bold in everything that I do and not underestimating myself. Because I feel like sometimes imposter syndrome or just kind of my introvertedness will have me underestimating myself at times. So that's more so for me to remember, like, in whatever I'm doing, am I doing this boldly or am I doing this passively, and to not do anything passively. 'Cause why? And kind of tied to the whole, we know how to survive, we know how to live. Like, I owe it to my parents, grandparents, great-grandparents who couldn't do shit boldly for me to be able, if it was, no, you can't say that because that's death, at a certain point. But living life now where being able to live boldly. And then the last two, to live in service, that's just really giving back, making sure that whatever I'm doing, my purpose is tied to like my community, people around me. Overall service. I think that's been drilled into me. To whom much is given, much is required.
I also feel a sense of, definitely, I mean, that's probably where most of my toxic traits come from. And I say toxic traits because I need to start realizing, like, some of the things that I'm like, oh, I'm so driven and I care about work and I care about people, which is a good thing. But for me,
some of those are also out of like survival.
It's out of survival, yes. And then also, well, like, because of how I grew up, I'm like, I don't want nobody else to grow up like that, right? So I like have this martyr thing, which just helps to perpetuate some of the bad habits of not caring about myself, not being able to say no when people ask me to do things. It just exacerbates that because it's in society, and for myself, I have made it like, oh, like the strong Black woman trope, right? That people
I don't want to be strong.
I want to do what everybody else is doing.
I am not every woman It is not all in me.
It is not all in
Anything
me.
you want done, do it your damn self.
Yes. I don't have time.
And then my last one is to live through love. So my thoughts, my intentions, my actions, everything rooted in love, whether that's Christ love or just not like limited to romantic love. That's just one aspect of it. But like it's purpose. It's a reason to the stuff that I'm doing. And I think this value really helps to clear out all of the bullshit. And really, if it doesn't have purpose behind it, then why are you doing it, Dana? Why are you putting your attention to it? Whether that's a role, whether that's an opportunity, whether that's a friend, whether that's a nigga, like whatever it is, kind of having that purpose. And what this exercise allowed me to do is now, and I kind of even made it in Canva, like it's my phone screen, my lock screen. But like, it's designed to. It's real cute. I send it to you. It's real cute. But basically, if I'm having a decision about anything, I want to be able to look at this and run it through these 5 values. And if it don't pass the test, then I'm not doing it.
I'm doing it. That's real.
Whatever it is. And that's kind of, and this is applicable in personal life, in work. Like I could run this through a work decision type of, is this going to run me rampant? Why am I doing this? Is it actually absurd? Like, if a nigga getting on my nerve, like if it's not hitting or going through and passing this.
If it's not serving me, why am I doing it? Yeah,
why am I doing it? Am I doing this to survive or am I doing this to live? So that's kind of mine. And what's interesting, so I'm in this cohort for young future Black leaders in tech. And we were also talking about values and doing a similar one with our career values. And the speaker, she was a Black woman, and she was talking about how she was talking with her executive coach about how one of her values was family. And then she was saying like, yeah, family is like in one of my top 3. And she was explaining how she has children, she has a husband. She's like, but I'm never home because I'm always like working on my business. So she's an entrepreneur, but she's also still has like a 9 to 5. So she's doing all of this stuff. And her executive coach is like, but you said your value is family. And yet your family tells you multiple times they want you to spend more time at home. And she's like, yeah, but I'm doing this for my family. Like I'm working, I'm doing all this stuff for my family. And the executive coach was then maybe, is your value actually family? And as they talked about it, they realized that for her, that value is actually legacy. So she's doing something to lay a foundation for the legacy of her family. She don't really feel like being around niggas all the time. Okay. But like, that's getting to the root of it and basically knowing yourself well enough to get to the root of your values and not lying to yourself. I think that's a large part of personal growth for me, is understanding lying to yourself isn't like, oh, I know that I'm lying and I'm just going to tell myself a lie. Lying to yourself is not knowing yourself well enough to know when it's actually a lie.
To your motherfucking self.
Yeah. So even for her, it's like, girl, and I think for women too, is that innate feeling of feeling bad if family is not on that list. But like family is woven into mine, but it's not stapled there because that structure of wanting, and now this is kind of her case, but as she was explaining, like that structure of, being the mom and being at home and taking care of the kids, that's not the number one thing I see myself doing. I want to do that. I do that, but that's not like, this is top of what I want to do. So even changing that word to saying I'm creating a legacy for my family. So I'm not going to be there every single minute of every single day and not feeling bad about that.
And I feel like as women, because we're women and we're taught that like, your family should be the most important thing. It's like we automatically go, oh yeah, family. I value family. Like that's top of line for me. But you're lying to yourself because you're like, well, that's subconsciously. I'm not sure if people do this consciously, but like subconsciously, you're like, oh, if I say this out loud, that's why in the top 3 values that I had to pick, none of them were family. None of them were like anything to do with like relationships. Which I found to be really interesting. Like it was all very internal or very like about me.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was like, oh, well, I've never been the type of person to be like, oh, like, I really want a family. Now, as I grow older, I have become more like, oh, shit, do I want a family? But it's not something I innately think about. It is just not. It is just not.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with the whole, because even mine, I was like, oh, I don't have family on here, especially because I do want children. I do want to be married. It's just something that I'm like, well, maybe kids more than marriage, but like, it's not a constant thought that's on my mind. Yeah, definitely the marriage thing, and not on my mind constantly all the time, but it's something that I want. But I think it's one of those things with the personal growth thing is like me who plans and controls everything. It's like, I want this. Let me position my life so that when it comes or when it's there, I'm ready, but I'm also not going to stress myself out and be stressed about like biological clocks and all that, because I have no control. I have no control over that. And I also think I'm not settling for anything. So it's also like, I'm not trying to, I got to find someone because I need someone to fill this husband position or need to then have kids and do all this. It's like, no, if it's,
I'm good.
It's definitely one of those, if it's God's plan. If it's for me, it'll be for me and I'll be ready for it when it comes. I was even planning my money out with my dad while I was home. He's my financial advisor until I break off and find my own. But even like planning of like, okay, if I want kids, how will that adjust like how I'm investing or how I'm saving for whatever? So I've considered them little niggas.
Good for you.
But it's definitely so in a
owning a dog is the least selfish thing I've ever done in my life.
And see, I'm like, I'm not gonna love. I need more love to have to deal with the dog, and I'm not gonna love that dog the way I'm gonna love my kids. So I'm gonna just hold out on that unconditional love until kids pop up. But to the story I was saying, for me, I think legacy would be a word on there more so than family. Like wanting, doing what I have to do to build a life so that my kids have a life that is very different from mine with more opportunities in it and all that stuff. It's not, I want to be there every single, whatever family may be, how that looks and what you put it down can be yours. On your own. But I think it was a great exercise. And now when I have decisions that need to be made, or even just a reminder, that's why I have it on my lock screen of kind of the person I want to grow into. And even some of mine, I don't currently embody fully. So it's also a reminder of things I want to work on as part of growing and becoming a better version of myself as well. How would you say, and I know we're entering at the beginning of our third decade, but I would say, what would be kind of if it's not themes, like major growth moments that you've recognized in yourself, let's say from your teens to your 20s and now kind of where you see yourself going into your 30s?
Wait, repeat the question again. In the last 3 decades, what would I see changing from each decade?
What has been the biggest like growth? So like coming from your teens to your 20s, has there been, like a large growth moment, or maybe from your 20s to 30s, or
just like,
or even if it's not a set decade, like
what I was talking about earlier is just like being more thoughtful about because I always say I'm selfish, but I would say I'm a good friend. Like if I'm a friend to you, if I truly, and that also depends, because some people think we friends and we not. But if I am truly your friend and I consider you a friend, I think I'm a pretty good friend. So, but like, again, like me being more thoughtful about how much time I spend with people, because like I'm a low maintenance friend, but that doesn't mean everybody else is a low maintenance friend, right? And so like, I think I've grown into understanding, okay, what do people need from me that is not just, it's like you could get the cookie cutter Nina who's going to give you things no matter who you are. And that approach over time has taught me like that doesn't necessarily work if you really care about your friends. Like you really have to kind of mold to what they need you for. I would say that's definitely been a growth moment. I think right now, in the growth spurt that I'm currently in, is like understanding that all of the goals that I set out for myself, I've accomplished, and trying to figure out, okay, what's next? And then me realizing like, oh, all the things I wasn't focused on, which is around family and relationships, is now creeping up and being like, oh, bitch, you know, like, we're still here. You can still accomplish us. Like, you can still grow in your romantic relationship, or you could, you know, if you wanted to have kids, you could have kids. Like, that's another relationship. You got nieces and nephews. You can, you know, have a better relationship with your sister, even though me and my sister are tight. But, you know, like, just those types of things where I'm like, oh, fuck, like, there's this other side of me that I have neglected because I was so concentrated on making it, or, you know, or getting to a point where I was comfortable. And now I'm like, oh, you know, like, I've changed my mind on some things, where before I was like, I don't give a fuck about marriage or kids. I thought I wasn't never going to get married because I didn't think it was going to be a man out there that would be able to be my equal. But I finally found that. And now I'm like, oh shit, like, now that I found somebody who's my equal, there's a whole nother world that has opened up of possibilities.
I can show.
That's where I am. Right. And I feel like that's where I am right now.
Yeah.
What about you?
I think for me and I would say a young Dana, going up and through college, the growth was like finding my own voice and kind of my own life and plan outside of what was expected of me, what I thought was expected of me, what was handed down from my parents, things like that. And then also finding my voice of like, I was a very, I used to be shy. I'm still an introvert, but like introverted person. So very much so in my head. And so kind of coming into my own. I think after that growth into my 20s and even late 20s was vulnerability. I think tied to even what you were saying of like being, knowing like with your friends, kind of showing more of you and not being that cookie cutter. I think for me, that shows itself in being vulnerable, of saying, if these are the people that I'm saying are my friends and that I love and that I'm close to, but I know that they don't know the full me, like that's a disservice to me.
Right.
And also to them. So even being vulnerable and like letting people in, and that's again on me of kind of having these walls. I'm also a Capricorn and all that's, you know, kind of added into
so
that.
Look at these walls,
yeah. But let them tumble down. And in turn, I think it's because even how you're saying like being more of the friend that they need, but also being vulnerable to show them who I am, so they also know who I am.
So they can be there for you. I struggle because I'll be like, you know, listen, ask you leading questions, but don't ask me shit about me because I'm not.
Yeah, because I'll tell like, whoa, and I am guilty of that. Of you can call me to ask me how I am, and that whole conversation will end up being about you, and you will get off the phone and know nothing about me.
Yeah.
But then also having them know me to know like tears don't work for me, and we can be the best of friends, but crying, I don't know what to do with that. I'm a problem solver. So if you're coming to me crying, I don't know what to do. So oftentimes what that looks like is you're crying and I'm trying to listen to you. I'm not consoling you with the tears. I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say to be what's wrong. So some people who don't know me may see, oh my God, she's so harsh. She's so whatever. But if you're coming to me, you know that like you're coming to me because you want something solved. And I'm trying to, so it's like, okay, I'm gonna need you to stop. I'm had this little friend like, I'm gonna need you to stop crying so we can talk and like, not that. So I'm looking past the tears. I'm not a woo. Let me rub your back to do whatever. But that's twofold: is having friends who know that that's how Dana is. This is what I'm coming to Dana for, so they don't take it personally if I'm not woo, woo, woo. Like, rubbing your back, it's going to be okay. I'm like, okay, what's the issue? Okay, we can solve this. I can do this. Let me do whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's what I mean though, because what I was talking about earlier of like me trying to change that, because I'm going to push you and say, yes, that's what people expect from you, but that's not always what people need from you. Right.
That's true.
And so,
do you want me to fix it or do you want me to feel it? I had to learn how to do that
like,
because I am a fixed person.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, you just want me to be in this? You just want me to feel this with you?
Yeah. I just want to come to Dana, and I'm not saying literally Nina, but like, sometimes I just want to come to Dana and complain, and I don't want her to ask me any questions. But I also don't like. But there's not another person, because let's say you just know about the situation better, or I don't have to explain a backstory to you, so it's just easier for me to go to you to talk about this problem. But then I don't want to have to second guess, because I know people were doing it with me. Is this bitch gonna make me feel worse about what I'm going through? The necessary, right? And then you have to adjust to that, and you have to push yourself. Like I'm very uncomfortable around topics of death and like crying. I'm awkward, but I'm not that awkward. I do a bit better with crying, but anything that has to do with death, if a parent dies, a grandparent dies, I'm going to avoid you, because I'm awkward and I don't know what to say. And that's something is the next thing I would like to work on, because I will just avoid those questions and or topics altogether. But I know that my friends, because everybody, life, that's the circle of life, right? Everybody has somebody who dies.
Yeah.
I'm going to need to learn to adjust to that, or control for that, because I'm going to have people in my life, especially as we get older, where they're going to need support from me. And if I'm not there, then that's a disservice to the friendship that I cherish.
Yeah. I think it's a balance. Because even in that situation of like the death thing, knowing you, if someone close to me were to pass away, and me being your friend and knowing you, I also know that you wouldn't be the one calling me every day to check on me, to talk. Like, I know you would send me flowers, or I'm gonna cook a dish for you and do like, and because I'm your friend and I know that, I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting like a baby A out of you, because y'all like, that's not who you are. And I would hope that the people that I call friends know enough to know, like, okay, I know in these situations
this is not gonna be there.
What is this going to do? And even if it's, in a situation like you said, where the most ideal person can't necessarily be there to support, but you still know that person cares. And then the last kind of personal growth transition now what I'm trying to work on is living in the motherfucking present, because I am horrible at that. I think that's tied to mindfulness. I am very much so, I think we're similar in this, as a planner, planning for the future. I'm also an overthinker and hella nostalgic. So I'm also constantly thinking about the past, what could have been done better, what I could have said differently, what I want to do in the future. And it's normally, I saw an image on Instagram that illustrated it well, but it's like my mind is either in the past, or there's like a large bubble of energy in the past, a large one in the future, planning the future, and then the present is very small. And I realized that when I try and think of certain events or just moments, and I can't remember them as intensely because I wasn't paying attention when they were happening. And like the last thing I can remember, and it's crazy that this was in 2019, but like my 30th birthday party, I planned so much for it. I was so focused on everything running smoothly in the midst of it, that if you ask me if I enjoyed it, I'm like, yeah, I think so.
I think so.
But I can't actually remember, I did this. I talked to this, because everything was just, okay, I need, and I feel like a lot of people also say that with their wedding day and stuff like this. Like, it happens.
I was just about to say, I feel like people say that on their wedding day all the time.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't, or I'm on vacation, but I'm constantly thinking of other things, and I'm not even enjoying the view because I'm thinking about this damn email at work. Like, I remember when I was on vacation in Thailand, I had to make an effort not to think about other things, to enjoy. I'm on the other side of the world, and I'm thinking about this thing of work that's lingering, that's whatever. So really focusing on that and kind of living in the moment.
And
I think
important.
As a Capricorn too, like flipping and taking a little bit more risk. I've been very much so by the book, doing what needs to get done, like for the stability, for the nope, I'm gonna do what's on the right path, what's next in this plan that I made. But you don't always actually enjoy life when you're doing that. So trying to have a little bit more of a balance and reaping the foundation that I have set for myself.
Right. We all
well of like
work so hard to enjoy the shit that we don't enjoy the shit.
Yeah, like sometimes it's like spend the $20, Dana. Like, why? Why? You've done all this stuff to be able to spend whatever, but
right. So if
I'm sitting here contemplating
if it's gonna bring you some relief. That's all. Yeah, that's easier. I used laundry service at the laundromat for the first time. Best $40 I ever spent in my life.
I'm getting meal prep service for this workout and nutrition challenge. Because like
$100 a week I could ever spend.
Yeah, within reason. Because I know I'm not a person that's gonna blow my money. Because again, I'm not a risk taker. So kind of finding that balance, enjoying it. I also would say my vacations start the moment I step on the plane. So even like going places, I don't get the middle seat in the back of the plane. Like we go, I'm a splurge and do.
I'm a window seat girl.
I'm a window seat. If it's international, I'm a comfort plus or first class, depending on point situation, whatever. But like it starts there. I'm gonna stay in nice places. I'm gonna buy nice shit. Like it's going to be, the full comfort and care of everything. So expanding that now, living a little bit more in the present and living, taking more risk as well. Yeah.
Taking more risks. And then, and to your point of just spend the money. Like I'd be so stressed about my stability and spending money, but it's like, I get more stressed by not spending the money. Like right now, I'm trying to find a maid because I've been trying to fucking mop my floors for 2 weeks. And at some point, it's just ridiculous. So it's like, just spend the money to get a fucking person in here to clean the house.
And once you feel that sense of, oh my God, why didn't I do this before? Like, because I had a maid come and clean my apartment in Seattle for a few months when I was working crazy hours. And it took me a long time, but I hated spending my weekends trying to clean when I was exhausted from working on it. And I tell you that first Tuesday I left and went to work and I came home and my apartment was spotless. I was like, it was like twice a month. I was like, oh, this is worth it. Because then my weekends were free. I wasn't spending hours cleaning up. And it was worth the money. Yeah. I don't regret it. So do it. And girl.
We know that this sounds very privileged. Not everybody can do that. But girl, get that extra guac on your
whatever it may be to whatever it may be to you. Because some people may find to the maid thing, cleaning their apartment helps them. Like it relieves stress, or it's allowing for thinking like, that's not for me.
It creates stress for me actually.
But whatever.
But to each its own.
Whatever works. How do you deal kind of in this effort of growing as a person? How do you deal with your plateaus or setbacks in your personal in your personal growth journey? Or do you just see those as part of the journey? Kind of as
they're part of the journey. I mean, that's the thing. As long as you're self-reflective, I one thing I like about myself, one of the many things I like about myself, because I do love myself, is that I'm very self-reflective.
I'm a motherfucking blast.
Right. Even when I know I'm being even if I know I'm being ridiculous, I can say, Nina, you're being ridiculous, but this is how at least you're being ridiculous, and you just gonna keep rolling, and then we're gonna correct this behavior at some point. So I mean, I feel like just a sense of self-awareness, because there's so many people who walk around this world who are not self-reflective and very narcissistic. And then it's like, you know, they'll go from, and I'm not even saying romantic relationship, but like ruining relationship after relationship, whether it be work or friends. And then they'll be like, well, bitches just can't handle me. Bitches not fucking with me. And this
I'm
is
just
for
blood.
I'm saying bitches, but niggas be doing this too. And it's like the common denominator is you, bro. Yeah. So like, what are you doing? You know, what harm are you causing or havoc are you causing to other people's lives? Everybody's the protagonist in their own story.
Main character syndrome.
Main character syndrome. And sometimes you really got to be like, I'm the villain in somebody's story.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to be self-reflective in that. I know I can be like super annoying when it comes, like I be in work meetings, like I know I ask this all the time, but okay, who's doing what? Like let's lay it out. I know it's annoying, but let me, like, I know I can be overbearing in that way, or I can be, you know, coming out of nowhere with tasks, and I'm like, oh, we got to do this, or I'm like, oh, this is happening in 4 weeks, we need to figure this shit out today. Like,
I'm always the calendar, look ahead on the calendar. Yeah.
So it's like, you know, and so to answer your question, you know, I don't know if I quote unquote deal with those, but I'm also just like, as long as I'm being self-reflective, I'm good. Like, I feel like the moment where I'm not like looking inward and say, okay, how could I have made that situation better, is the moment that I would question, like, oh shit, am I a bad person?
We should be friends, because that's my exact answer. One of the many things that I like about myself is I am very introspective. I think that's part of, I think that's very much so a younger Dana thing, just tied to being kind of more introverted, kind of, I like to, before I talk, I like to think about my answers, or I'm constantly thinking about different things. But the introspective, and then also the self-awareness, because even to your point of like, what did I do in this situation? You know, niggas don't be asking themselves that question. And I feel like I ask myself that question about any and everything.
All time, yeah.
Like constantly. And I don't know if I think some of it may be let me be the best of the best of the best. So constantly trying to be the best version of myself. So I think a little bit of it can borderline, I'm not going to say it's toxic, because it's more so me recognizing like the root of the why behind why I do this. But still being self-aware of, to your point, when I say like, oh, Dana, you're wildin', but it's also like, yeah, I'm wildin' in a situation, but here's why I'm doing it. Here's why I made this decision. And I know I'm not going to make this decision again, or I'm going to, you know, like kind of analyzing and saying, yep, I played that wrong. Even now thinking about things of, I handled that wrong in the past. But at that moment, that was all that I knew. So I'm going to learn from it, but I'm not going to sit and sulk about it. And kind of being able to grow from there, to deal with the setbacks. And I can't say there's nothing that I do that I'm like, man, I keep making the same exact mistake, or I keep doing the same thing that I want to improve on over and over and over and over again. I would give myself maybe 1 or 2 times of like trying to improve. So even then, I guess I view a lot of my plateaus or setbacks is like learning lessons in a sense or maybe plateaus are more so like there are seasons. I forgot who said this quote. It's in my notes app of quotes, but there are seasons that ask questions, and then there are seasons that give answers.
Give you answers.
Yeah, so like maybe a plateau, I would consider like some of those to kind of be in there. But yeah, just trying to like being self-aware and realizing, what did I do in this situation? Oh, I fucked up in that situation. Is it worth it? Do I apologize, or do I keep it? Like just kind of self-assessing, and in a sense kind of having a postmortem on like situations, relationships that may have faded, relationships that are now sour or strained, like being able to revisit those things. And I think too, trying to view those things, both having self-awareness, but then also trying to see it objectively. So even knowing that like everybody is, you know, the main character in that movie, but also, okay, let me see it from the side of the supporting best friend. Let me watch this from the side of the passerby on the street. Like, let me see the different angles of it to see that I
we saying all this, but at the end of that, you can still be the asshole at the end. Like,
yeah. Like, and not lying to yourself and saying, wow, I was the asshole in that. And sometimes it's I was the asshole.
Sorry, when I said you, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying
I know.
I'm
the
saying,
proverbial.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying like, let's say somebody says something out of pocket to me at work, and then I will sit about it, think about it, retell the story. I'm like, no, that nigga was it wasn't me. It was them.
Yeah.
Like, I may still come to the conclusion that it was you, but I will absolutely give you a chance, like mentally, as I replay the situation, for me to be like, what could I have said differently? And at the end, it's like, oh no, that nigga. Because I feel like, of course, you know, it's hard to say I feel like, but like, I feel like I'm logical. I guess I'm reasonable. You know, I'm not unreasonable. So it's like, if somebody does something to me, I'm not unreasonable to be like, oh, did I say something wrong? But like, nah, I'm just giving that disclaimer. So don't think for a second that if you fuck with me, that I'm about to be like, oh no, it was all my fault. How can I do it? Like, no,
I know, bitch. Yeah.
Right. Like, no. But I am gonna give it a fair chance and be like, what could I? And
you had me fucked up here, and here.
And I see people who don't at least do that first step of self-reflection, and that to me is very annoying.
Yeah. I think a large component of that is also having people around me to kind of be in my blind spots. So again, that comes into like being vulnerable with your friends. So like, I consider you to be one of my friends of like, am I tripping? Like, and I know you're going to look at it objectively, like, yeah, bitch, you tripping. But, you know, like, give me the assessment. Say, I posted something on one of my stories of like, you got to have friends that'll tell you being dumb, but still want to hear the story. Like, bitch, you wildin', but like, keep on telling the story. You were out. Yeah.
No, this happens all the time. My sister called me the other day mad about something, and she told me the story. And I was like, well, let me tell you where you're wrong. She was like, oh, okay. So she was like, okay, I am tripping. Okay, so that's fine. And I was like, yeah, you're wrong.
But having that kind of those people to be in your blind spots, as well is
you gotta have people. You gotta have your board of bitches that's gonna keep you in check.
Yep.
That way, when we decide, oh no, we all popping off because you're right, we all can do it with confidence.
Yep.
Because I can't. The wishy-washy friends who I'm like, let me know more before I go over here and slice this nigga tires. What did you do?
It's like, nope, you didn't do something.
Yeah.
Or even if you did do something, okay, are you always doing something? Or is this a one-off, you know?
Right.
You know, type thing. It's like, okay. Yeah. But overall, I think even as I talk to a lot of my friends, our mutual friends, like the last 2 years, even kind of given with the pandemic, I hear a lot of people talking about like their personal growth. A lot more people are getting therapists, or those who may not have access or can afford therapists are reading more books, kind of wanting to understand what can they do as far as personal growth or being a better person. And it's not personal growth like, oh, I'm making more money or, oh, I'm doing whatever. It's just, are you evolving as a person, and learning more, unlearning more, like wanting to be a constant learner of life, trying to not be ignorant on certain, it's like at certain things, it's like, how are you this age and still ignorant on this?
Right.
Or how are,
at your big age.
Yeah, at your big age, why are you still thinking like that? Or why are you still saying that? And what I realized too is a lot of times when you do this work, or when you do kind of the personal growth journey, people who are not there or have not done it stick out like a sore thumb.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
and I avoid those people.
Why? And it is obvious. I am seeing it in dating. Like, nigga, what? You know that the Homer Simpson gif where he just back into the bushes, like,
yes, like not interested.
What? Like, yeah, it's something that's obvious, and then it makes me think like, man, did I sound like this on some things when I was talking, in the past, of when I didn't know or was unaware and just kind of being loud and wrong, but in that moment they really think they're right. So it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, you have to
gotta leave people like that where they are.
Yep. And keep it moving, keep it pushing. As well. But yeah, I think this is important. Let us know. Email us, hit us up in the comments of things that you're working on, either with your own personal growth, lessons you've learned. Are you discussing this among your group of friends, or kind of how are you trying to grow and grow into your 30s? Oh, did we ask, or did I ask, what are you doing for yourself to continue kind of this personal growth effort into your 30s? Because we're 31, we'll be 32 at the end of this year, top of the next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's again, continue to be self-reflective. I think that helps, and trying to be more intentional and mindful about, okay, what's the pain point for me? It's like, okay, what's triggering my anxiety or depression or whatever, and how can I grow so that those aren't triggers anymore? And so I think that's where I am right now. It's just like trying to figure out, okay, what do I actually want? And I think it also just feeds into like I said, where I've accomplished all these career goals. And of course I still have more to obtain, but as far as like what little Nina thought she was going to be, I'm it. Like, I'm that bitch. So it's just like, what's the next set of goals? And does that include family and friends? Like, what is the next thing I want to accomplish for me? Not for, not for just work or my career, which I take very seriously. And I don't see my job as just a job, right? Like, I am a planner when I go to sleep, when I wake up, when I'm at my 9 to 5, after my 9 to 5, like, it doesn't end for me because I'm so committed to the mission, my my purpose. But I have to find out who Nina is outside of that identity. And I think that's what, the next few years will look like for me.
We should be friends. That's what I say. Fuck it. I just had this conversation with my therapist about, for me, for so long, it was when I was a student, my goals, everything. Like, if it was a pie of my life, 98% of that was when I was a student. It was school, what I'm trying to accomplish in school, whatever. Early 20s, kind of late 20s to a point, it was all career, money growth, becoming debt free, like all these boxes that were like, here's what I'm trying to do, whatever. Now I'm like almost kind of having to reevaluate when I don't want that pie that's 98% work or career. It's like, I really want that to only be 25%, and like being okay with that. When I was 26, I wanted to be a CEO of something. I was like, career. And now I'm like, my job is not,
me up, please.
Yeah. Or like, like community act, but like something that's not, I have stressful jobs that afford me nice things, but I don't want that anymore. And so I think for me, it's not lying to myself and telling myself that.
That's what you want,
being content with that. I was telling my mom when I was at home for a few days, I was like, even all of the negative tropes about like being a housewife or things like that, which I have nothing against housewives at all.
Me neither.
That's a very important job considering all the stuff that women who stay home have to do. But I also feel like if I were to become a housewife, I have nothing to prove. I've already accomplished the things of what some people may down housewives or not. Like, I have the degrees, I have the career, I have the accolades. Like, it's cool, it's fine, it's whatever. But trying to reimagine like what my happiness can look like, because for me, I had to unlearn trying to tie my happiness, my worth, my accomplishments to my job and to my career, because that was stressing me the fuck out.
And
it left me actually empty when I was like, I have all these things. Yeah, I have all these things. I'm actually happy. And so it's like, I need to start putting more time into what actually makes me happy. That's my friendships, my relationships, my connection with my family, traveling, my interest in me, like all these other things. And actually my homework now is deciding, well, if work isn't gonna give me all of these things, then what is it going to give me for me to still have fulfillment, like, and still, have joy? So that's like being smart and learning new things and problem solving. I enjoy doing that the same way that I enjoy putting furniture together or building things and taking things apart. Like that's all in the same kind of category. And not tying so much to it, that also means I won't be stressing about it as much. I won't be as anxious about it, where things don't go as planned. I won't be as depressed about, kind of
it takes a lot of the pressure off.
Reshuffling what that pie is. So even trying to define that is definitely something I would loop that into, like reimagining my happiness, kind of what I'm doing now and going into my 30s. And then also one action that I'm trying to do is give people their flowers now, like while they're here. I realize I don't often tell people or show people how I feel. I just kind of the assumption of, well, I'm here, and like that's kind of my previous thinking and wanting to change that. So whether it be, I think like I had wrote a post, like just thanking my parents on Facebook.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was the conversation.
You had to ruin it.
Yeah, it was like spawned from the conversation on Twitter one day about like, and I know I'm not in the same situation with Dr. Dre and his kids and all that type of stuff, but like, thank you for my parents for not doing that. When you're 18, you're cut off. And I don't mean financially, but like just, being good humans who help the humans that they brought into the world out and plan to do it as long as they can. But even my friends, of like saying how they feel, how I feel, and doing it in ways that show a little bit of me, that they can receive it, and just knowing, because it's just nice to know. And you shouldn't assume, it's the difference between someone saying I love you and them saying, I love you, right? Like, I love, it's different. So trying to do that, at least with how I can, because that is very different for me. But I think the people in my life deserve it, because if they're in there, I chose them. That means that they're dope.
And life is short, so you never know what the last thing, you be like, oh man, I wish I would have said. Yeah. And I think we all kind of take that for granted.
Yeah. I want to have that feeling that, God forbid, if something were to happen to anybody, I would have that feeling like they knew.
Yeah.
They knew what it was.
Care for them. Yeah.
They knew what it was. And I would want that for me as well. Because my love language is words of affirmation too. I updated it.
Yeah, I do love being told I'm the shit. I agree. Well, so y'all let us know. Hit us up, email us, inbox us, DM us. Let us know what your thoughts are. Okay, so we do have a tone check this week, and it we never got a chance to talk about DaBaby, or did we? Or maybe
I don't even think he would.
DaBaby,
he's an ass.
So,
that's my commentary.
Tory Lane. Oh, also check out Meg Thee Stallion's Essence cover. Tina Snow.
Oh yeah.
She got the white blonde hair. It looks amazing. She also just put out a new freestyle. Coming for you, Nikki. But Tory Lane's dumbass was at Rolling Loud and was on the DaBaby set. So this is the same set that he had his homophobic remarks. And, why couldn't he just say, fellas, make some noise, lady? Like, that was so specific. That would have made so much sense.
Why?
He was
he was triggered by something.
He was upset about something, and then he brought it to the stage. But I digress.
Yeah.
So anyway, he brought Tory Lanez's ass up, which is also a slap in the face because, you know, they used to say Megan and DaBaby are like work husband, wife and have a good relationship. And they did a song together, blah, blah, blah. But this nigga Tory Lanez went up there, and apparently because Meg was also, I think she performed him?
20 minutes before them or something. Like they were definitely you can look at a map and say, I think it was 100 yards. Yeah,
or 100 feet, 100 yards, whatever the fuck. But now the LADA is saying that he violated his bail by being so close to her, and that they could either revoke his bail or raise his bail. So,
because he wasn't scheduled to perform, so it's not like he was working. So that nigga just showed up,
you went
and that was not up to DaBaby's people, because DaBaby's dumbass brought him out. It wasn't up to his people. That was up to Tory. So he just violated that to show up to.
And you knew Meg went on right before you.
Yeah, so it was in a lineup. Like people, you know. So whatever happens to him happens. I think it's dumb. Like what, you know. And he could have said, it was like on internet, y'all, he could have said, fellas, how y'all doing? Ladies, y'all all right? Put your phone up. If you getting some motherfucking money, raise your hands. You know, all the ugly bitches be quiet. Like all the things you could have said, and you just got very specific on some shit. And now you fumbled multiple bags. And
what I love is that Lil Nas X has surpassed
him on Spotify. Yeah,
on Spotify is the most, because I be listening to Industry Baby every morning. That's my shit.
Yeah,
So.
Duh.
All right, well, you know, love you guys. Go get vaccinated if you can, if you feel like it, but you should. You know, hope y'all stay healthy and hydrated.
This episode was produced by us and edited by Daner Cole. Our theme music is the track Same by Ricky Ells. Be sure to check it out on all streaming platforms. For questions, comments, feedback, or topic suggestions, hit us up at queentonepod@gmail.com. Be sure to also check us out and follow on Instagram and Twitter @queentonepod. Thanks for listening.